Hi, everyone. We're so excited to be presenting on volunteering for literary magazines and presses. I'm Maria Picone. I'm the managing editor of Chestnut Review, and I'm here with three of my dearest writing friends and part of my writing group. So we're presenting this to you. We're recording on February 2nd. We know that the conference videos will be going live in March, and we're so excited for that. Um, so all right. So, we're going to talk today about volunteer opportunities in literary publishing, how you discover those opportunities, what is it like when you apply, and then what you can expect, both from the standpoint of a volunteer, but then also like how does that fit into your personal life and your writing, and how does it benefit you? Um, so, everything that we say is applicable to literary magazines and presses. As you may or may not know, a lot of places that are magazines will have a press branch, just like Chestnut Review. Sometimes small presses are kind of on their own, but they still sometimes have volunteer opportunities. So don't discount small presses. They also really, really need volunteers, but certainly literary magazines need you. So if you're thinking about volunteering, if you have a lit mag at your school, if you're thinking about starting a lit mag, this is a great talk for you. So welcome. All right. We are going to just introduce ourselves briefly. We're going to talk about, who we are and where we're coming from, and then we will continue. So if you could, each of you, if you could talk about who you are, what work you do, and then if there's any socials or a site that you would like to share, that's great. Yeah. So I'll start with you, Kyle.
Hi, I'm Kyle Givens. I'm a prose reader at Chestnut Review. I'm on Instagram at Kyle Givens Writer is my handle. I post only occasionally, but yeah, I'm interested in literary and genre fiction and have been on the Chestnut Review team since uh, late summer last year.
Yes, August.
Yeah, I
But
think
it's
so.
2024. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know. I was doing the same thing. Like all of January, it was like, it's 2025. Oh no,
It's
it's not anymore. Yeah. Um, yeah. Reina?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Reina Garcia. You can find me at La Lefty Writes on Instagram. Work in general, I work for a video game company on the legal team. But I really love writing. I'm a poetry reader for Chestnut, and that's why I'm on this panel because I volunteer for Chestnut, and it has been a great ride. I've been there a little over a year now. Oh God, we're in 2026 now, so maybe it's closer to two. But it's been a great experience. So I'm happy to share this journey with you guys. It'll be very helpful.
Girl, you came on after Wales. That was 2023. Um, I think you came on in like late 2023. Yeah.
Oh man, 3 years. Okay. Sorry, let's tally that up now. Three. All right, the good old three. It's a good year. It's a good year. Yeah.
You guys have me doubting how long I've been here. I need to go do the math again, but I'm pretty sure it's 2 years because I kept saying February would be 2 years. I'm Samira Shakib-Bregeth. I am the communications manager at Chestnut. And I love doing this. And it's funny because the question of like, do you have any socials to share is interesting because I am in charge of a lot of things social at Chestnut, where I, help manage what's on the Instagram, and I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but I kind of coordinate the communications going on in the media world, which is how I learned about Chestnut as well and wanted to apply for the position. And I think I've answered all the questions. Yeah, communication manager on the panel because this Lit Mag is awesome, and I love. I'm actually a high school teacher. I've taught for a long time, and my love of literary magazines came from sponsoring and facilitating 8 years now worth of high school lit mags that take it to state and all kinds of fun things. So that's where it was born.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, I'm Maria. I use she, her pronouns. Let's see. I am a community college philosophy instructor. I also do freelance work of my own, and I am a literary magazine editor at Foglifter, at Chestnut Review, and at 5 Minutes Lit. Um, so I'm here because I really love writing, publishing. I like helping people put their work out in the world, and that's like kind of what fulfills me. So like on socials, I am at MSPICONE, which is my name. Um, yeah, so it's great to be here today. All right. So we're gonna get into our questions. So our first question is really like, what's your experience with lit mags? So do you have other experiences with literary magazines in the past, or have you even like been published or things like that? Yeah.
My experience with lit mags before Chestnut was strictly getting rejected. So I came to Chestnut having no lit mag experience and no fiction publication experience. So
Yeah, same Kyle. I a lot of rejection, and it was when I did Chestnut's Wales retreat, and I got to talk to James, and he recommended that, something that could really help writing is reading for a lit magazine. And boy, was he right. It has really helped my writing. So even with no experience, you can jump into this role and really gain something from it. And it can be so fulfilling too. You're helping these other people get published. You're seeing what the literary landscape is. I'm sure we'll talk about benefits later, but basically, almost no experience except for rejection, like Kyle, and they still came out with it with some great and helpful experience. It's been great. Mm.
Yeah, I agree with you, Reina, and it has been a great experience. My experience with Lit Mags is that I have applied to them. I've gotten into some. There, I was trying to build my writing career and wanted to build my writing resume, and so I would go on Submittable or New Pages and try to find ways in which to do that. So my experience with Lit Mags came from sponsoring high school literary magazines as an English teacher to writing work where I tried to get submitted in places and get rejected like we all do and get accepted here and there and have exciting mornings, just and then uh, through getting paid feedback once from Chestnut, I followed them on their socials and then learned about this opportunity, which then became this experience for Literary Magazine for me, which has been great.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. So for me, I actually started my lit mag and sort of writing journey when I was in graduate school. And I I actually like after my MFA, I felt like I didn't learn a lot of practical skills. So I enrolled in an interdisciplinary master's, and half of the master's was in writing. So I got to work on our school's lit mag as like a one semester class, and that was helpful. I actually started a lit mag of my own. We had one issue. I didn't really get much traction, and so I was kind of disappointed. I really, really wanted to be a lit mag volunteer, but I didn't think that anybody would want me on their staff, which is like a total, like now I look back and I'm like, wow, I was so stupid and innocent. Like, because lit mags really need people. And so like it just seems silly, but yeah, I got really discouraged. And then when I came back to writing, because I had to take a break, I saw this ad on Twitter for a lit mag that needed an art editor. And I do some visual art. So I said, okay, that sounds great. I can get my feet wet. And so that kind of got leveraged into a whole bunch of reading positions. And then eventually I interviewed for and I got a position at Chestnut as the prose editor. And Chestnut was started in 2019. So it was before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, we had a lot of growth. So I came on staff in August of 2020, and it was a great time to be there. So just by helping out with growing the magazine, because like when I came on staff, we literally had maybe about six readers, and we had there were two editors. And so like I came on, we had hired two more editors at the same time as me, and we started slowly growing the staff of volunteers. So today, I believe that we have like maybe 80 people at Chestnut, maybe more than that, across several different teams. It's totally different than it was, but like a lot of that was not only what I did and contributed, but like the fact that Chestnut had a great mission, so we were really able to reach a wide audience of people who liked what we were doing because we pay people for their work. We respond quickly to submissions, and so I have been really privileged and humbled to be part of the magazine's sort of explosive success. Um, I came on at Foglifter in 2023. And I'm now the managing fiction editor there. So those are my two major Lit Mag positions at the moment. But yeah, it's been a really exciting journey for me. All right. So our next question is really okay. Maybe people are kind of eager now. So how do volunteers find positions? Where are some places they can look? What are some things that they can do to get ready? Yes.
So the way I came across Chestnut Review is I had submitted and been rejected, but in that time I subscribed to their newsletter, and then a few months later on their newsletter, they put out a call that they needed prose readers. So I applied through that, and that was how I got in to Chestnut. I think I've seen the same thing with other journals, so I would recommend journals that you like, journals that you're interested in, getting on their newsletters. Um, and that's been the best way for me. I've talked to a couple of other editors who are kind of put out similar work, and yeah, so that's been successful for me.
Yeah, same, Kyle. I did the same thing. But I'll tell you, I've also seen a lot, like on Instagram, they'll do a call for readers. So if you're following the publication, their newsletters are extremely helpful and detailed. Please sign up for those. They tell you all kinds of tidbits of what's going on and upcoming themes that can be really helpful as you're writing or going through your work. But sometimes good old social media can, and you see that pop up like, hey, we need readers, and it's very helpful. You can jump on the opportunity right away. You can see when the deadlines are very clearly, but also on their websites, right? If you like the publication, look into them. Go hop over the website, see what it looks like. If you like the vibes of it, and then see if they're calling for volunteers. They are needed. They are very needed, and it's very rewarding. So you can find them in any way you want to find them. Seek and ye shall find, right? It's there.
That's a perfect transition, I think, for me, both Kyle and Reina. You said so many things I wanted to say. And also, yeah, the idea of finding something you're looking for. So, and not even really maybe knowing it. So with volunteer, finding this position was interesting to me because I also subscribed to I was on the newsletter and I found Chestnut Review's like latest newsletters to be really interesting, and was following them on social media and found out that they had a call for one position, which then I interviewed for, and it turned into what I'm doing right now. But what was cool about it is that when you are following a magazine and you kind of get to know them and know their ethos a little bit, it makes you feel really excited to continue maybe trying to pursue them, or wanting to, or being just delighted when they do have a call to action for you. I know some friends who get asked by other little networks, like, hey, there's an open call here if you're interested. Hey, there's one here. Most of the times that I see it, because I have my eye on Instagram, is on Instagram. In fact, this morning, it might be by the time March is that they've closed this, but there's a lot of positions available at like Literary Mama, which is an online magazine. They have a bunch of different positions. And to Maria's earlier point, it's so interesting to know you can come into a lit mag and with a certain set of expertise, and then realize that it's actually like the other thing that you want to do can be applied to that role, or that they need so many different types of talent. So you don't have to be this like, only the jack of like one trade. You can have a bunch of different trades that's useful at a lit mag. So online media, I think it'd be the best way to find those positions. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I really agree 1,000%. In the pre-era, like most of my positions came from Twitter, because social media is usually how magazines will say, "Hey, we're open," or "We're closed," or there's like an app deadline. Sometimes you can look on their websites. So if it's a magazine I really love, I might look specifically for something that says, "Hey, get involved," or "Join our team," or "Volunteer." But absolutely, like on the skills thing, I think it's very important to say I did not necessarily have a lot of lit mag skills, right? People don't even know what that is. I think that we tend to undersell ourselves and think that we don't have the skills to kind of get things moving. Really, like part of the reason that I looked at your app, Kyle, was because you had a lot of reading experience. You had a degree in English. Um, so I remember like specifically, like one of the reasons that you jumped out was because, in our app, we also asked people to do like a very short literary analysis of a piece from Chestnut Review, and all of those things sort of stood out. Reina, like you have a lot of research experience and, of course, writing and editing. So even though you came on as a retreat participant, right, soft skills are so important too, right? Are you a good culture fit? It's part of the reason that JR and I usually ask our former contributors, our retreat participants, people who have even just been to workshops with us, things like that, to come and volunteer, because we already know them. So I think relationships are extremely important, especially in a thing as small as literary writing and publishing, right? And Samira, you are an amazing teacher. You have so many organizational skills. So when you interviewed for the position, which was a staff writer, it really seemed like you could do so much more than that. Not that, okay, if you had said, okay, thanks, but no thanks, I just want to do the staff writing aspect, fine, that would have been great. Because you have an English background, you have that eye, but more than that, right? Like your personality, your organizational skills, the things that you had talked about doing. Yeah, it wasn't like, hey, I have done this exact thing before, even maybe nothing like that. But it just seemed like something that could be a good fit. Um, and so, right, I would definitely say whatever skills that anybody who's watching this that you have in your main job, even if it's something completely unrelated to writing. I'll tell you a dirty secret. We at Foglifter, we need an accountant. Because we're a nonprofit, we need somebody who can do our taxes, somebody who can pay the bills and like work with spreadsheets. If that doesn't sound like a writery thing, well, guess what? It's not. We need people who have business skills. We need people who have, sometimes legal skills, right? There's questions that come up about copyright or about, can I quote this thing or can I do this, right? There's all sorts of things that you might not even know that you are good at or that you could help with until you get involved. So yes. Okay. Um, so now we're going to talk a little bit about this question. Right? You might be thinking, okay, I just want to volunteer. This place seems cool. What are some questions to ask before you apply and or before you commit to a volunteer position at a literary magazine or press?
Yeah, and one thing I think I've looked into is since most editors tend to be writers themselves, I'll kind of like try to look up their publication histories, if they teach, what they teach, just kind of just to get an idea of what they're doing outside of their journal. If it's something I want to be, if it's a project I want to be associated with, if it seems like the kind of work that could help me too, that it would be mutually beneficial. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I've done in the past.
I want to know time commitment. I have a full-time job, so my biggest question is how much time do you guys need me, right? Does that work with my schedule? Can I fit that time in per week, per month? Is it every 3 months? Like, how much time do you need me? And how often is the magazine published is a big question for me too. Like, am I doing this year round? Do we get breaks? Will there be a time where I will not be, that you won't need me to volunteer? And that way I can organize my own personal writing time as well as anything else I want to do in my free time. So timing is a big question for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like we all kind of have as like, people who are creatives or writers, and we have like a day job, and time is of the essence. And here we are, we want to, make a community and volunteer and put our hours that maybe sometimes we don't have, in a place that is going to be so fulfilling, and to give back to community that's helping us grow. So I think, yeah, asking the question about time. And I know at Chestnut, they were really good about saying this is like, these are like the hour brackets, between what we think that your role is going to be, and like stay open with us and let us know how things are. And so I think, to answer the question about what questions to ask, it's like, I knew the job, like that I kind of got the hours and I got all that stuff. But I think it's really, now that I look back on it, it would be really good to ask, and maybe I did in my own way, of saying things like, what exactly do you need? Like, what do you need? And when you envisioned this role, when you created this role, what is it that you still hope that that you're looking for in someone, or that you really need in order to get that job done? Because those people who are asking you to come in to help them, they actually are really squashed with time as well. And it's helpful to be really precise in some ways and let those other organic things happen, but hit some of the marks, because you usually are going to come in at a time of need.
Um,
Sorry.
yeah, I love all of this. Yeah, go ahead, Kyle. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. There was wanted me to jump back. There was after Reina and Samira, it reminded me of something. So I worked in academic libraries, so we would and periodicals. The other thing is just making sure, as much as possible, that the journal is hitting their publication dates. If some of these journals you start seeing getting really, sometimes they miss publication dates, and it just happens, like if it's a lot of volunteers. But if you start seeing big gaps between publications, if they're missing several, it could be a sign that internally it might not be doing what they need to be doing. So,
Yeah, like 1,000%. I think it's good, like even when you're just submitting, to kind of check, because again, a lot of these things are run completely by volunteers. Nobody's really making a profit. Even if you're paid some kind of stipend or honorarium, right? It's not like you're being paid for your work that you're actually doing. Like, you're not paid by the hour, so you're not probably getting fairly compensated, which is just a symptom of the industry, unfortunately. So like, I understand 1,000,000% if somebody doesn't have the time because they need to be earning money, and I have mad respect for that. But I think, like, when you think about fit, all of these things are great, right? You want to surround yourself with people that can give back to you, that can be a community for you, and that try to curate community, because it doesn't make any sense. You could be surrounded by the most talented writers and editors ever, but if you never get a chance to talk to them or like have any personal time with them, it doesn't really matter. Right. So I think the lit mags where I've stayed the longest as a volunteer are places that make me feel really valued. They are very clear about communicating time and timelines, right? Because internally, you've got to maybe finish your reading in a certain amount of time so that the magazine can be published on time. But then also, right, publicly facing, it is embarrassing if something happens consistently where they're not making their targets. And usually on a lit mag, there's like one person that can do the stuff on the web because, again, right, skills, right? So there's like one person that can edit the website or that can put the PDF together or whatever it is. But that also means that there's huge risk, because if something happens to that person or if they just can't do it in time, um, things can get really wonky really fast. So I would definitely look at, what kind of ethos does the magazine have to the community? Do they tend to keep their word? Does this feel like a fulfilling place for me? It's already adding extra stuff that you're doing. You don't necessarily want it to add like more stress or doubt or any of those sorts of negative feelings. And I mean that too from a personal perspective, right? If you are surrounded by people, it should be people that you want to be surrounded by, people who are supportive, people who are talented, people who are working hard, and who have something to really contribute. I would not stay at a lit mag where I felt like people were mean spirited or they were just in it for themselves or whatnot, right? Yeah, thanks, guys. These are good answers. So, can you talk a bit about the application process or what you've seen from applications from other places?
so my application at Chestnut, it was for me a totally blind application. I had very little experience with them. I didn't know anybody there, so it wasn't even like a networked thing. But it was I think there were a couple of questions like that were let you explain about yourself. Like you talk about like I think why you would be a good fit for the role, like what experience you had. Um, and then there was a question where you found a previously published story on the website and then gave like a something like a 300 or 400 word response to it. And so for this, I just drew on. Uh, I think I felt well. I felt really like I didn't. It felt like a long shot for me. I didn't have any publication history. I didn't have grad school. I had an English degree, but I was 15 years, almost 20 years out of graduating. So I had been out a while. I had been but so I leaned on my experience working in academic libraries, my love of reading, and like what uh, these writers meant to me, and then just kind of went for it on um, the reader response. Um, so that was it for me.
Yeah, same. I was really intimidated responding to a piece, that a previously published piece, right? Because I didn't felt like I had the qualifications. It was my first time in the literary realm. And I didn't even have an English major. I was a history major and a poli-sci major. Like that was not gonna fly, right? And I'm working in legal. All the writing I read is very generic. So also not as helpful, right? But I still shared what I knew. Hey, I know I can read a lot. I know that I can I know that what things are super boring and generic, and because I read it all the time, right? So I just told them exactly what I do know and what things I'm passionate about in the literary scape. And I basically wanted to sell my case. It was a long shot. I felt like it was a long shot, even though I knew Maria from going on that retreat. Like I still felt like, no, I don't know if I quite fit in here. But I felt like the honesty part of it was very helpful. I felt like the questions were helpful in not only determining whether I was a good fit for them, but whether they were a good fit for me. I understood just from seeing those questions, they were looking for more than just people that have all these degrees or that have been published a billion times. They were looking for diversity, and that was something that really excited me.
Yeah, I agree again with with my panelists here. So the application process for me was this is the part that gets kind of airy-fairy, where I'm going to go back to an earlier question. It's right around the time in my life where I said, this I'm throwing a lot of things into the writing community and volunteering game, and I want to have fun with it. I want to just be myself in it. And I see this opportunity, and even though it was intimidating, it felt right. Like so for me, this particular, applying to Chestnut, going on Submittable, I had seen something they posted in the newsletter. I made some connections in my head, and I thought this feels like really the right thing. And then when so I had to fill out I don't even remember what I did. It was a Submittable application with a video, I think, as well, which was fun to create. I hadn't done that for a long time. And yeah, I just enjoyed then meeting James and Maria and recognizing that they're this just like, I don't know, these very cool people. And I've learned that Maria is a really good, she has a great knack for people, can like create an environment where, like, to Reina's point, like you feel like you belong, that you do have talents that, that are, all curated alongside you. I didn't know that at the time, but I understood then that feeling I had when I applied and the feeling I had when I accepted that it was right and that I was going to be myself in it. It has proven to be right. So the application process for me was me putting out myself out there and really enjoying the process, and being treated with respect during the process, which was a big deal because we're all professional. A lot of us are professionals. And so I would want to see that. And that's what I was met with. And therefore I was going to continue forward. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen things be as simple as just like, hey, email us because you want to volunteer, and just like introduce yourself. But I think that to your point, authenticity is extremely important. So for Chestnut Review, we ask our readers to fill out a short app, disclosing like if there are any other lit mags that you're a part of, talking a little bit about yourself, and then yeah, we ask you to find a piece from Chestnut that you really like and analyze it in like a short paragraph. And so what we're looking for really is like, who are you as a person? Do you have a willingness to learn? Right, we don't want to have a whole bunch of people who have like graduate school credentials or who are like super published. We're not looking for everybody to be the same. Um, but I think more important than anything else is like we're looking to round out a group of people who are incredibly talented and who show potential. And so I would say, above anything else, because I've looked at a lot of these apps, be yourself, be honest. About your experiences, think about things that could transfer as skills. We are looking for somebody who loves to read because you're going to be a reader, or you're going to be reading these pieces. And so even if it's not polished work that's out there in the world already, right, you are part of this process. And so like those are two big things we look for. And I will say that in this age, we have gotten a lot of AI generated apps. And cover letters. And I understand that, like, I know why people are doing it, but I would say, like, if you're looking for a position at a lit mag, it's the worst thing to do because it will not have your personal voice, it will not communicate anything about your personality or who you really are. And it will, to Raina's point, sound extremely generic and honestly boring. So if you really want to set yourself apart, I'm not saying that you have to just you know exist in some state of like radical honesty, but I think it's way better to have an application that shows your personal voice because we're all writers, so we're going to be looking for that. For our editorial and other positions, especially if they come with an honorarium, we do an interview process. So usually on the app, we ask people to film a very short video of themselves. It can be just like something you filmed on your phone. It doesn't have to be technical. And then we do follow that up with actual interviews on Zoom. So there may be steps to the process. Again, we are not trying to waste anybody's time or disrespect them. We're looking for people who are a good fit. And if you do come on as a reader, you will have opportunities to meet people on your team, including your editors. Yes. Um, all right. So this cluster of questions, very important, right? Volunteering means you have less time for other things in your life. And it could mean that you have less time and maybe mental bandwidth for your actual writing. I see this complaint a lot from editors. I have felt that myself, right? Okay, well, like for instance, right now, chapbooks, we're going to open again for chapbooks on March 1st. So I need to read chapbooks. I don't have time to necessarily work on my own stuff, but I'm going to try to find the time. All right. So, yes.
Yes, so it's time management, not my strong suit. But staying consistent helps. Um, Even from a week to week basis, the editors at Chestnut are always there to remind you if you're getting a little bit behind, which I sometimes hit, but that little push would help before it became too late. There were moments, there have been times since I've been there that uh, work and life just became too much, so I had to step away for time. Uh, but then, yeah, so when it was working best, I think it was for me, it was just trying to stay consistent. It wasn't too much if I'm reading like a story a day or something. Um, but that was probably the best way. Or sometimes on a Saturday, just spending a Sunday morning going through the stories wasn't too bad. But yeah.
Yeah, it does take up some time, but you just find it and you have to be honest. If you are swamped or if you can't get to everything, you just notify the editor. You need to communicate with the team. no one's going to get mad at you. No one's going to punish you. You just got to be honest and be like, hey, life happens. They understand that you're one of many volunteers. But the faster you let them know, the quicker they're able to reassign and help you out. So I would say that's my biggest lesson learned in that. I was sometimes too afraid to say, like, hey, I don't have the time to do this. But I've come to learn that the more you're forthcoming with it, the easier it is actually for them and for you. Get it off onto the next person because they have to meet a deadline. Um, so as long as you're honest with yourself, which is very difficult sometimes, I feel like you can sustain that balance, but you need to make sure that you prioritize accordingly, right? If you know that you have something that you want to finish writing and there's a deadline, and you need to prioritize that, and you're not going to get to the stuff you need to do for your volunteering for the Lit Mag, be honest about it. Tell them, hey, I'm really trying to get this done, and they'll help you out. Or vice versa, right? Realize like, maybe I need to take a step back, like what Kyle mentioned. That's why I appreciate you saying that, Kyle. Like sometimes you need to take a step away for some time and you can always come back. Luckily, the literary community is very open and flexible, and they'll tell you straight up, like, oh yeah, feel free to come back, or they'll refer you to a different lit mag that, has that open door policy. Where there's a will, there's a way. So if you find that way, you'll be able to find it. But you need to be honest about how much time you really have. If you know you only have 2 hours that week and you have 5 hours worth of stuff to do, obviously something's got to give, right? So I would just constantly check in with yourself and not only what your wants and priorities are, but the literary magazine that you're volunteering for as well, because they have deadlines to meet too. So that's the best advice I can say.
Yeah, I'll jump right in, agreeing, of course, with both of you. I think much like our writing practice and how it ebbs and flows with our life, and we find the time to what Reina said earlier, that's how it works, I think, weekly with Chestnut as well. In the different seasons, literally seasons, with Chestnut, I found different things that work for me. Like, for example, this morning, it was a super early morning. Took about 2.5 hour chunk, devoted it just to Chestnut stuff before work, and that will buy me a few days of only communicating with different team members for various things, and then I'll have another chunk. And so that for me, the chunking of time works really well, and then I can do the little things in the little microcosms of the day. And I do things like Patreon and Instagram, and coordinating different projects with retreats, or lots of things that come up, which is a really cool experience too. And so I'll round out the answer by saying something about like what we do when we're finding our time to volunteer. It really does serve like a purpose too, because you're helping someone else's career. And a lot of us have been on the other end of this on Submittable, trying to get things published. And we have the honor of like somebody is going to see their name in print because of something that we are all doing. And it's a really great honor, and it's a really cool thing to be part of. And it's very rewarding in that way I think when you kind of maintain that perspective. And so just knowing that the weight of that is there for even just showcasing someone's work it really does help kind of push the balance, because ultimately in the writing community, we all need hope. We need each other. And these things are meaningful. So I think the time you give it, it comes back to you. But yeah, sometimes it's early mornings, late nights, or during lunch. A lot of things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the privilege of meeting all different people. Some of them, right, the only time they have is like Saturday morning, so they'll just sit down and like do all their reading on a Saturday morning or do all their stuff. Other people like work throughout the week. Um, I spend on average each year over an hour a day on Chestnut stuff, and so it does add up. Also, the emotional and sort of the stress can kind of add up too. But it's so rewarding. Like I really feel like I would lose something if it wasn't in my life. And so like a lot of it is really just like me remembering when times get rough. Okay, like these are the reasons that I'm here. And that helps me a lot. I try to sort of combine multiple things. And so part of what I like to do with curating community is really also like giving back, meeting with readers individually. And those I find really energizing because I learn more about what people are writing, what they're concerned about, what they're doing, and like why they're at Chestnut. So like I find that sort of thing really rewarding, and I think it's rewarding for them as well because I'm always offering like resources or help with things. So yeah, it does take a lot of my time. I have multiple roles, but I don't do the same things in those multiple roles. I would not be able to have multiple roles doing the stuff that I do at Chestnut Review at other places. Like it just, unless it was like my full-time job, which it's not. Um, so I appreciate these looks at stuff. Um, I think that we are getting a little bit behind. So I will just kind of speak quickly to this question. So I've seen lit mags that use things like Discord or Slack to communicate with each other, like in terms of messaging, just so you have like a community hub. Um, Sometimes I've seen, you just get a document or like even an email that's like, hey, here's what to do. And that's what you get. Systems, right? People can use things like if they're using Google Forms, you'll be reading stuff in a Google Drive and rating it somehow. Some people will ask you, okay, put this in a spreadsheet or put your rating in an Airtable, which is like a glorified, pretty looking spreadsheet. We use Submittable. It's very common. You will get training on Submittable, and also like I've made some videos on like how to use Slack and how to do things. We have a document explaining what readers should do. And I think those things are pretty standard. So you should expect some amount of training. Do not be afraid to ask questions. One big question I think is really valuable is, do you, as a magazine, do edits? Because if a piece is flawed, and you think it's too flawed to be published as is, maybe if edits are being done, it would be worthwhile to forward that piece over a piece that's more polished. But if the place doesn't do any edits, then you might be thinking, okay, I'm more in favor of a piece that's polished. So I found that to be a really helpful question for me as a reader into these types of things. I, yeah. So, yeah. So for our final kind of question, I think, like, how has writing community benefited you?
Uh, well, being at Chestnut specifically led to my first paid publication, which was a very amazing experience. The prose editor, when I first got there, wrote a book, and I bought it and just sent her a message right when it came out, and I just said, "Hey, this was amazing. I read it in one night." It was Brooke Randall in her book, also here. And then 6 weeks later, she messaged me and said she had an interview lined up, and if I would um, interview her. So we went back and forth and published that in hypertext, and so that was my first publication. And it wouldn't have come without going taking the risk and joining Chestnut, and then being engaged with the writers and the editors, even beyond sort of the particular work of Chestnut. So,
Oh yeah, it really opens up your writing circle and your writing community. I was a particularly new writer, and I didn't have many circles. I live in LA, and we're all very spread out, right? But the literary community, when you find your hub of people, they're really warm and welcoming, and it's fun to learn about what people are working on, and we share about it, and we'll even point each other to different opportunities or classes to take together to tackle a new challenge, right? Or something we're interested in. So volunteering has really led me to dive deeper in my writing, has really opened my writing a lot. I didn't get published also until after I became a reader. Something about not only being part of the community, but like getting an eye on how the publication process works was just so helpful. And like I said, you meet a lot of great people too. It's great to see how other people look at your writing, and also how other people want to try and help you. It's quite a fun experience. So those are things, my biggest takeaways.
Yeah, I think you both have echoed a lot of what I want to say. I'll also add that, through meeting everybody on Slack and through the work that we do together, it was really cool to bridge that and go to like AWP and see each other there and meet in person. And that here you have all these people who are serious about their roles or joking on Slack on various things or sharing and you're in a room together and it becomes real that you guys are all doing something and it just brightens the experience you have as a writer, which a lot of us will always need. Even the most seasoned writer needs the bright spots. And I think we give that to each other. And just this last December, we went to Santee, South Carolina and did like our first, Chestnut Review staff retreat. And that was incredible. And to Maria's point, when you think about the work that it takes to be in something and volunteer, and then you go, but I would be at a loss without it. And that's also because it's a special place. So you have to find your special place. You have to find the place that makes you feel that way. It benefited me greatly. It's also nice to see how people work in their roles and learn from them because to Maria's point earlier, you don't know what role you're going to end up in. You might start with prose and then you may one day, if that's your thing, go to managing. And you have all these different avenues and opportunities as you learn about how people function in their role. So it's benefited me. It's opened my eyes.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Raina, for talking about like the writing benefit too, because I realized that I left that out of the. But yes, that is a huge benefit of working for LibMax, right? Demystify the process, not just helping other people get published, but like for you to understand how much work goes into literary magazines. I think it really helps with rejection because you're like, oh my God, like we're getting so many submissions. It's like not even funny. And then you're like, wait, I'm one of those people. Right. It's easier when you know, okay, it's not just they had 5 submissions to pick from and they didn't choose me, they chose the other four. Right. It's like they had 500 submissions to pick from and they chose four. I mean, for some people, right? The rejections still sting, but it can make it easier to understand the process. But yeah, like 1,000%. I would not be the same person. I don't think I would be the same writer. I would not be in the same place. And I guess that I'm going to flip this question and be cute because I think it really is not just about, okay, you get into these places that are hungry for people. They need help, they need support. I think one of the best things that you can do if you're interested in moving up or getting more editorial experience, which you could perhaps parlay sometime into one of the very few full-time editing jobs that exist today, is really just to ask, what do they need? Right? What do I see that they could benefit from? What skills do I have that I could offer? If you are doing like what Kyle described, like you're doing more than just because it's not a job, right? You're not being paid fairly. And so I know that asking to do extra is also like completely unfair in that sense. But if you are somebody who has the ambition of getting on the masthead or becoming the EIC of your own lit mag and learning about best practices, some of the best stuff you can do is just pitch in, figure out gaps, find ways to use your skills. Because that's really what I did. I didn't set out with this masterminding plan that was like, I want to be the managing editor of like a successful lit mag. But that's just how I happened to get here because I was willing to do extra stuff, kind of just even sometimes like just weigh in and give an opinion, respond to things that are optional, go to events and stuff that the lit mag is offering for readers and just like see people. It's really huge. And again, like I would not stay at a lit mag where I don't feel that sense of opportunity, that sense of community. So yes. All right. So thank you all so much. Is there any burning takeaways that you want the audience to take from this?
Oh gosh. Just everything good that has happened in my writing happened after I stopped trying to do it on my own, when I joined the literary community, uh, when I joined Chestnut and joined writing groups. I think that would be my takeaway.
Yeah, having different levels of support, like really helps alleviate some of the anxiety of writing and trying to, find your way to publication, or even if you don't want to ever get published, Learning about this community and getting involved has really helped my writing. It's I have made so many other friends. I've learned about different types of stories, and that's what I love most. I love learning about different people's stories. I like hearing what they're working on. I think it's so fun. To learn about these different people. And it also sparks ideas within yourself, like, oh, wow, I need to think about my life in this way or think about a piece of work this way. So I just I just think it really helps you not only build your own circle, but it helps broaden your horizons, right? You might think you only see one lane or you see no lanes, but all of a sudden, being a part of this community can really help open different worlds for you. So that's my biggest takeaway. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll add that I think it's shown that it is very possible to maintain and heighten your creative life and also use a different part of your talents and volunteer. And then what comes back is kind of triply manifold. So yeah, I'll end it there.
Yeah, no, I feel that 1000%. I used to be somebody who was like just a very solitary writer. I didn't even necessarily want to talk to other writers or be around other people. And, when I went to my MFA, I didn't curate or build a sense of community. I didn't feel a sense of community, but I also I was part of the problem. And I feel bad because it was a missed, very expensive paid opportunity to be part of a community. But at the same time, I think I just, maybe it didn't click for me. Maybe it wasn't the thing that gelled. This has really been something that I think has made me a better writer, but also just a better person in general. So I would just say do it, right? If you're on the fence, if you're thinking, oh, well, I've seen lit mags that are like, we just want an hour a week of your time. Get involved at the level that works for you, but also don't think of it like a transaction. Sort of realize that, okay, the benefit might be something where if you can squeeze out an hour of your time, it's going to benefit you so much. When I started at Chestnut, I was making so little money that the honorarium itself was meaningful to me, even though it really wasn't that much money. So I was coming from a place where I was taking a risk doing this essentially unpaid labor for, a few hundred extra dollars a year. And I have benefited from it so much. I can't understate. So I really hope that you'll join us. We are always kind of open for people at Chestnut. We do training a few times a year. But certainly there are 7,000 million lit mags out there. And so please, we hope you find the one that works for you. So we know this is a recorded talk, but we want to be open to your questions. We're very excited to take them. So what we've decided is that if you do have questions, you can email me. This is my Chestnut email. So it's just maria@chestnutreview.com. So please feel free to ask us anything. It can be based on what we've said here today. It can be things that we didn't cover, or even if you just want to send us a note, we're happy to take a look. Thank you so much for coming and watching our talk. We hope that you enjoy it, and we will hopefully talk to you soon. All right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.